Just give me a second. All right, so welcome everybody who's taken out your time on a Saturday morning to join us. I'll briefly introduce, I can't briefly introduce, but I'll still try to briefly introduce Amit. Amit has close to 3 decades, so 30 years of experience in the software industry, working with quite a few of multinationals within India, outside India. So he brings in wealth of experience with him. Recently his book Clarity, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Clarity First has also been one of the best sellers, and we have seen a lot of events where Amit, you have been sharing your scribes of your book, and it's really kind of got a very, very good reaction from audience. He transitioned from the software professional industry, and he wanted to mention at the age of 50. So at the age of 50, he transitioned from his illustrious corporate career into becoming a coach. And it's an amazing way because that's when you gather and accumulated a lot of knowledge where you can pass it on being a coach. And we are so grateful to have you for today's session. And decision making is one of the most critical topics, not only for anybody who's a professional, doesn't matter, is an entrepreneur or in the corporate profession, but irrespective of it, this is something I, being a woman, do say that we kind of need to pay a more attention on decision making because that's where something we lack. Really look forward to your session, and thank you. Over to you.
All right. Good morning, all. Can you all hear me? There are some people, somebody mentioned can't hear anything. Uh,
I
I
can
hope,
hear.
yeah. If everybody can hear, just type okay, I can hear. Just type okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, by the way, this will be a one-way conversation mostly because I'll be talking, you'll be hearing. So to engage with you, I need to just get a feedback and input from you that you are getting what I'm talking about. And if something is going wrong, or you're not able to hear something, please inform on the chat box. So I'm keeping on my screen, there are multiple things happening. There's a chat box, my screen, the photograph, the video, everything is all there. So I'll be just playing around with this and see how it goes. All right, so uh, can't hear, I've tried everything. There's one person saying
If
can't
somebody
hear.
is unable to hear, it has happened before also, please check your microphone or the volume on your desktop or laptop or mobile, wherever you're joining it.
Mawa, can you type this in? Because those who can't hear can't
Sure.
do this.
You get started on it.
Yeah. All right. So good morning, all. I'll be starting this session called Better Decisions, How to Make Better Decisions in Life and Work. But before we start, there are some ground rules to be used. So ground rule number one is, I hope everybody is done with their daily chores and there's nothing pending with you in terms of breakfast or tea or getting work delivered, getting work delegated to your husbands, spouses, children taken care of. If all that is done, then only we can start. And all your WhatsApp, all your phones, anything that can distract you, that should be taken off. So if you're ready, please type, I am ready. Then I'll start. Ready? 1, 2, people have said they are ready. Rest are not. 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Mira, welcome. All right. 10, 12. Okay. Yes, seems to be. All are ready. Okay, so to just set the context before we start on decision is a very, very important topic and I cover in my different sessions. But before we start, I want to just set the context here, okay? The context here is, I want to know what are the 3 important decisions that you have taken in the last 10 years, right? Just type on in the chat box the 3 important decisions that you have taken in the last 10 years. I want to just get a feel, what do you understand by the decisions and the critical decisions that you may have taken. Please type in 3 important decisions that you have made in the last 10 years. Job switch, career, becoming Yamawa, that's Very important. In fact, Mawad, some of the topics, some of the things I'll be talking about would be relevant for you also. So I'll pick you up, pick your examples at times in between. Change the city, sticking to job, quitting my job, marriage, change city, entrepreneur journey, marriage to my partner, becoming entrepreneur. Very nice, Mira. Choosing the subject carefully. Wow. Career to personal life as priority. Very nice. Interesting, interesting. So now that some of you or most of you have just uh, thought through some of the decisions that you may have taken, now I'll ask you to do a simple exercise one more. The point is, now think about, listen to this very, very carefully. Think about where and when you took those decisions and what was the process you followed to take the decisions. I'll give 30 seconds to think of that question and answering it. Where and when you took those decisions, and what was the process you followed to take the decisions. Yes, think and write on the chat box where and when you took those decisions. Do you remember? Do you remember the time when you decided to take a job offer? What was the process you followed to decide this is the best company to go for, or you were about to get married? How did you? What was the process in your head going on to take a decision, right? And where and when it was taken? It's not about when you got married. It is about when you decided to get married to whom. Waiting for the right moment. Okay. It was an ongoing process, but waiting for the right moment. Long-term view, pros and cons evaluation. Okay. I hope everybody is thinking. Curiosity for something new. All right. Gunur, it felt right. Just didn't want to linger anymore. So generally entrepreneur at the right time. Conversations. Very nice. Health of families. Tipping point. Interesting. Pros and cons list. This is the most common one. We always make a pros and cons of if to choose a company or a career. It's the most common thing. Shanghai process. Read the pros, cons, checked finances, family benefits. Any more? Just think over, do you remember where and when that decision was taken? We'll talk about the pros and cons option also today. Um, in fact, to just let you know, pros and cons is not the best way to do. Intuitively, yeah, very important, very interesting part. Many decisions are taken just by intuition. You feel like it's the right one and you take it. Oh my God, Tasneem, that's interesting. In the hospital on my deathbed. Right after a call. When I lost my day job, no pros and cons done deliberately. Yeah. Okay. I just joined. This is the first slide, Pratima. You have to write down 3 important decisions, and you have to think over where and when you took those decisions, and what was the process that you followed. Any more? Any more sharing? Hospital bed rest. Just have to go forward. When you're down, you have to get back up. Hmm. All right, interesting. So just wanted just to get a feel of, do we even know when we have taken the most critical decisions of our life, which may have changed the trajectory, the direction, and had a huge, huge impact, right? And that's why I want to just mention here, we are all And let me repeat, we are all decision makers, right? We make decisions every day, every minute, every hour, every month. And in our life, that can have major impact. Our past decisions, for example, choosing a career, choosing which subject to pick in the 11th standard, which partner to choose for getting married or not getting married, or starting a new startup itself, or picking up a job. All these are very, very important decisions that are taken. And now also, if you look at future decisions are also going to come in, right? During the COVID times, it's going to finish hopefully soon. And but even now, there are many important decisions which are pending with us. There are many important decisions which are pending with us, which could be, for example, should I, like we're talking with Mahua, how to make our business go online, or should I quit my job and become an entrepreneur, or other way around, should I quit my startup and become join a job itself, right? It could be also, if you're running a company, it could be, should I lay off some people, or should I invest into something new, right? They are important decisions which have to be taken. But to let you know, the problem in all the decision making that happens is that there is no defined process. Please listen to this very carefully. There is no defined process which has been taught to us. I have never learned, nobody taught me in school, college, how to decide what is the process of taking decisions. This was not taught to us. We were not trained about it, but we have been taking decisions which are very, very critical to our life, career, and business. And many decisions that we have taken, or many people, the best of the people have taken, have gone wrong. Please listen to this carefully. Many decisions have gone wrong. KPMG study says that 700, they looked at the data of 700 mergers and acquisitions, and they figured out 83% did not boost shareholder value of the 700 mergers and acquisitions. So the top shot people have also made mistakes in decisions, and that has costed humongous to the humanity. Even now, if I say, even now, even COVID times, some countries may have misjudged, may have delayed the decision for lockdown, and that may have costed life, right? So it's not only we individuals who have made a mistake, it's the country heads. They have made mistakes, or are still making mistakes, and that's costing jobs, life, relationships. Many things gets impacted. Getting married, you get married to a wrong person, wrong decision. Divorces have gone up because of wrong decisions being taken at times, right? So the impact of decision is huge, and that leads to a lot of trouble in relationships, in life, in career, in business, everywhere else. And we don't think, by the way, we don't think much about how do we decide, how do we process the decision, right? And that's the key part that I want to cover here. By the way, just to let you know, when I'm talking here, I'm not talking about decisions like intuitive decisions, or what should be cooked today, or what should we have in the evening, which should we go out or not. Not that type of decision. I'm talking about important, critical decisions of your life, your relationship, business, and everything else, right? So if you got what I mentioned to you, please type yes, yes, yes. You understood this? Please type yes. Understood? Okay. Great, understood. Great, great. I want to just get this feedback because I can't see you. So this is the only way for me to know that you are listening, or you are actually going to the kitchen to eat something or drink something. Okay. Uh, Good. So the next step, what we will do is pending choices. Please, this is an exercise for you again, is write down 3 important decisions that are pending with you. Right? What are the 3 important critical decisions as of now which are pending with you? You can put it in any way you want. Just could be, should I choose A, B, C, D? Should I lay off people? Should I add more people? Should I start something else? Please, whatever comes to your mind, please type 3 important decisions that are pending with you. I think I lost my. Um,
Can hear you well, Amit.
yeah, just one second. I'm just lost my chat box. Yeah. I can I hear. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Shifting home, online business, getting going abroad, new skills, learning to be happy for myself, changing job. Okay, this is a good time to think of changing job, starting company, thinking how to shake up and make my business run online. Yes, online. Should I go online or not? Very important. Mawa, you can also type in if you want.
Sure.
How to grow my business online. Philippa, very nice. This is, we're talking about that. Okay. Job change or start new business. Okay. Stay India or UK. Okay. Stay in India, Kathy. That's a given. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I've not even covered the process, and this year is taken. Great. Okay. So execute with collaborators, online sessions, new virtual service. When will I do it? Okay. We'll talk about that Guru today in the evening when we meet. Uh, should we build different products for different experience levels? Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I guess many of these decisions are very, very crucial to what's going to happen to you, to your business, to your life, and to your relationship as well. Should you stay in India or go abroad? Should you go online or start a new product area? As such, whom should you partner with? Many important decisions which are pending with you. And let me go to the next step now. So the next step I'm going to share is what I call as, I hope you can see the slide. I'm going to cover decision making, the process, barriers, and the solutions. Okay. Um, so let me go first to the barrier part. Sorry, the process side. So the process of decision making is actually very simple. Right? I hope you can see this. So process of decision making, uh, I guess it's very clear. It's self-explanatory. First is we encounter a choice. And we first encounter a choice, then we analyze the options that we have. We get, let's say, 3 or 5 options or 2 options and analyze an option. And we make a choice. And then what do we do with it is we live with it. Right? This is very clear. I'll not go into detail, but because the most interesting part comes next. Next is what are the barriers, right? Anybody would like to share on the chat box what are the barriers they think? Yeah. Somebody would like to share what are the barriers? Barriers of encountering a choice. Financial constraints, barrier, cash flows, unawareness of choices. Interesting. Yes, how to scale up my business. Any other constraint, any other barrier that you think? What is the barrier of when you encounter a choice? Money, risk, lack of research. All right, interesting. Mira, knowledge, finance. Finance is coming quite often, but that's not the right answer, by the way. Um, okay, let me go to the real barrier. So the barrier is what I call as narrow framing. Narrow framing means is you think of 3 options and you think these are the only options available to you, right? It's what I call as, it's like a spotlight effect. You have a spotlight and you see only one thing or 3 options and you see nothing else. That's the problem. That's a problem in encountering a choice. You look not beyond the things that you have seen. There are much more things which can be done or options are there, but you don't think about them. Okay. So go to the, I'll go into details of this because that's the main thing which we'll be covering. Let me go to the next one, analyze options. What do you think is the problem in the barrier in analyzing options? confident. Analyzing options. What is the barrier for that? No? No barriers? Knowledge. Knowledge seems to be coming multiple times. Please elaborate, Al, on this when you say knowledge. Knowing the options possible. Oh, yes, this is interesting. Too excited about choices. Missed to analyze. Okay, okay. Blind spots, interesting. Take right decisions. Right decisions comes later. That's the next step. Okay, let me go to the barrier. So barrier in this stage, analyze option is what I call as confirmation bias. Confirmation bias here means is because I am the one who's making those choices, those options, I am biased with my experience, my knowledge becomes a bias. I am already prejudiced that this is what I'll be doing. Or this is, when you do these pros and cons lists, that's a problem. We always do the pros and cons, but we are making the pros and cons. And most of the time, it is because of our experience that comes into play. And that stops from analyzing the option. Next one, make a choice. Give me what is the barrier for making a choice? This is, by the way, this is the key part of the whole session today. What we were covering the barriers. Once you get to understand the barriers, solution, things will just happen easily for you. So this is the most crucial part of the meeting. So what do you think is making a choice when you actually decide what is the barrier? Support from the family, unsure what direction to go in. Priorities, interesting. We'll cover a bit about that. Support from the family. Kathy says time pressures to make a decision. Okay. Analysis paralysis. Yes. That comes in probably the stage 2, analyze options. We take more time because we don't know the process. We are not able to solve it. Fear of failure. Good, good. I'll come here. Thanks for sharing. I'll just go to the main barrier of when you make a choice. Here is what I call as short-term emotions. The biggest barrier is that we get driven by our own emotions. It's a short-term emotion which plays the role, and that makes us take decisions. This typically happens if you have gone to buy a car. You see a car salesman. He or she is very nice to you, will talk to you very nicely, make you sit in the driver's seat, make you take a test drive, make you so comfortable that you just want to buy the car. It's triggering your short-term emotions so that sale can happen. And that's the problem which happens when you are making a choice. And we'll go into more of these later on. Next one, living with it. Live with it. So tell me which one is here. What is the barrier of living with it? Not sure if choice is right. Very nice. Barriers for living with it. What are the barriers you think after you had made a choice and then you are living with the choice? What is the barrier that you get? If things don't go right, we regret. Now, sure, okay. Doubtful about road not taken. Okay. We get attached. Interesting. Yes, we get attached. Very important. Sunk financial at times. Now I will talk about that. It's a very, this is one example for you also. Compromises, not accepting the change. Okay. I think it's being said in different forms, but probably let me just put it in the words are different, but I think conceptually same. What I call as overconfident. The barrier here is we get overconfident that what we have taken is right and there is nothing else can be done. So at times we live with our decisions forever because we are overconfident that will give good results. Okay. Let me go to the next part of this slide is about solutions. Now, narrow framing. For narrow framing, the decision, solution for it is very simple. It is what I call as widen your options. Now that we have talked about, now we have talked about the barriers of encountering a choice, right? Which is naming, then please note this down. Focus is great for analyzing options. There is a spotlight effect. It's a spotlight message unstable internet. So, are you able
Yeah,
to hear me?
hear you for the last few seconds.
All
It
right.
is
Okay.
caught by me.
Let me go ahead. Yeah, voice may breaking. So I saw get some message in between. All right. So widen your options. So widen your option is means you have to have more options available to you so that you can get better results. So this is the example I mentioned to you, like a spotlight. When you have a spotlight, you look at only one thing at a time. You see the person on the stage. If there's a stage show, some show happening, you see on the stage only the spotlight referring to that person only. You don't see anything out away from there, and that's a problem. There are many things which may be happening while the spotlight is at one place. It may be giving. There could be other options which are available to you, but you're not able to see them. And this is where I come to a very important part is focus. When you try to focus in this stage, it becomes a problem. Okay. Please note this line I'm repeating with you to you is focus is great for options, but is terrible in spotting them. Let me repeat. If you have paper pen, please note this down. Focus is great for analyzing alternatives or options, but terrible in identifying them. If you're good in focusing and you use focus in encountering a choice, you will be in trouble. Did you get that? It's a very important when I figured this out or got this knowledge, it made me think differently, right? Yeah. So I'm just Gunur, great for analyzing options, terrible in spotting. Let me type it if people are saying so much. People are saying. 1 second. Can somebody type it or here? Focus is great. Okay. Thanks, Mira. So that's the important part that you need to remember, that it becomes a problem when you are actually looking at looking like a spotlight and you're not looking at anything else. You try to focus because spotlight gives you the focus, and that becomes a problem. And I'll give an example. The example here is actually I was coaching. There was somebody, a prospect came to me uh, for looking at coaching session, engaging. And a very interesting thing that he mentioned to me that, Amit, I have to decide between which coach I should choose. I have to decide a coach to go for. And he has met no, three coaches, and probably I was the fourth one. So out of the four coaches, which one to choose? And he came to me. And it was a very interesting discussion. And when we're going through the session, it came out very clearly that we were always looking at spotlight that he needs a coach. He needs a coach. When we move the spotlight to something else, which is maybe he does not even need a coach. Decision taken. Decision taken was at the time was, oh, he does not even need a coach. It's not an option available to him, and he didn't, right? So that's what happens when you widen your options. Let me go to the solution for the next one. Okay. Are you able to hear me properly? There's some feedback coming from people.
Yes, again for a few
Yep.
seconds it was on and off,
Yeah.
but
Okay. Great. Let me go to the next one. Confirmation bias. How do you solve the confirmation bias? Here is the important part. What you do is what I call as a reality test. You have to do a reality test here, which is to test your assumptions. You have to test your assumptions that it is right or it was wrong, and not go by your own self. So, if, for example, uh, it could be what I call as, there's a term called devil's advocate. Everybody knows it, right? Devil's advocate is a very important person, or that person can be very helpful in analyzing your options. In fact, I remember in my corporate career, there was one person in my company who was reporting to me at a leadership level. And I knew every time I would talk about some initiative, he would tell me 10 things why it won't happen, right? But I respected him a lot, I trusted him a lot, and I used him always like a devil's advocate. I would go to him with an idea, an initiative, and he'll tell me 10 things. And if I was able to convince him and move ahead, I was sure it would work fine, right? So it is very important to reality test your assumptions. Look at what is almost like opposite of what you are thinking of. Very interesting, very funny example I actually learned a month back was through a very simple exercise, not exercise, but a video, was peeling a banana. Okay. Peeling a banana. How do you peel a banana is always through a stem. That's how I've been using. But there's a video, if you go online, you check how to peel a banana. There are million, probably 2-3 million views over there. It's from the opposite side. It's not from the stem. That's how monkeys do it. That's how it's supposed to be done. That doesn't mesh up the banana. And when I read, I started laughing and I said, oh my God, I was always thinking in one way, but by just looking opposite, there was probably a better way of doing it, right? And I keep that example in mind when I'm looking at options. I think of banana peeling and then, oh, I'll think that opposite. And that confirms, that checks that I'm not getting biased, but what I am thinking of. Okay, did you get that? Please type if you got that. No, please type something there. I can sense you got the message. Please, got it, Tasneem. Nice, nice, great. Very nice. Good. Another example, by the way, this reality test your assumption was, this was an exercise done by McDonald's. They had a McDonald's had a party, office party, and in that office party, they ordered Whoppers burgers, which is from their competitor Burger King, right? It was to just check how people will react to it. And surprisingly, obviously, many people were very, they found the burger of Burger King much better than McDonald's. Right? And sometimes we don't look at from that perspective. We always think we are right and the other person is wrong. But when we look at, you change that thing, look at opposite, you'll find something different. Okay. All right, next one is making a choice. So short-term emotions. So short-term emotion is what I call as attain distance before deciding. This is what I call as before you decide, you move away, because short-term emotions will stop you from taking those decisions or making wrong decisions. It's better to take a step back and look at from that point of view, right? Like I mentioned that many times when I have coaching sessions and a client says, "Oh, I have taken a decision," I tell him, "Okay, you have taken a decision. You think you have taken a decision, but sit on it. Sit on it for a week. Sit on it for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. Do nothing, right? Let it be, and then come back to me and tell me, was that decision right? Are you going to take? Are you sure you want to go ahead with it?" Okay, so attain distance before deciding. The last one is living with it. So living with it, overconfident that we get, the solution for that is this one: prepare to be wrong. We many times get overconfident that whatever we have done is correct, and we will be staying with it. But be ready to be wrong. Prepare to be wrong. It is, for example, we have example is in your car, you have the fuel indicator. Fuel indicators tells you that you have only 70 kilometers left to drive before it'll stop. It gives you the warning. Smoke detectors, that gives you that gives a warning signal that it's the fire is about to happen and many things getting destroyed. Do something, right? These are the some of the elements which are required so that you are ready for if you're prepared if something goes wrong. Did you get that? Please type in a message on the chat box that you got the a solution for making a choice and living with it. Good, good. Okay, okay. Give the solution for making choice and living with it. Okay. Uh, Next one, I just want to get also your feedback on very interesting thing is you wrote down 3 choices that you have to make and you have made many choices and you've seen the process over here. So please type in on your chat box, what do you think is your individual strength and a weakness? Which of this process step is your strength and which one is your weakness? Please type strength, name of the process, weakness, name of the process. Please type it in. Did you get the message? Did you get the question? Think because this is all about you. It's not about me. This is all about you. Which one out of these 4 steps you feel is your weakness? Which one you feel is your strength? Short-term emotion, strength framing. Kathy says. Aditi says strength is usually tried to test my assumptions. Okay. Analyze option is a strength. What's a weakness? Okay, weakness is short-term emotion. Okay. Make a choice. Live with it. Strength is positiveness. Weakness, not distance. Okay. Weakness, emotion. Emotion seems to be a common weakness. Reality test. Very nice. Okay. Okay, let me move to the next one. Okay. So this is the picture. This is something I use quite often in my sessions also is just a pictorial representation when you are in the middle of taking a decision. This is something I draw always to figure out which direction I have to take. But out of these things that you see, the interesting part I want to share here is the number 10. Right? Number 10, if you see, is reflecting you are analyzing 2, 3 option, 4 options, 7 options. You're going round and round and round and round and not deciding, right? But it's not you are standing, you are analyzing. It's like analyzing, you analyze and paralyze yourself. So whatever you do, whichever thing you pick, please, for God's sake, don't be at 10. Don't be at 10. Okay. Fine. I'll move to the next one. Time's running out. What I'll be covering is going into details of what we have covered on the process, barriers, and solutions. I'll be covering some of the tools, some of the concepts that can be used. Okay. So if you're ready for this, please type yes, ready, because we're going to now details of the solutions part. Not clear about 10. 10 is nothing but you're going and analyzing all options, but not deciding. Okay. It's going round and round, but not taking decisions. Okay. Let me go to the, great. Thanks for confirming you're ready for this. So we're coming to some of the concepts that can be used to widen your options. So what are the ways to widen your options? So one of the way is what I call is avoid narrow framing, right? Avoid narrow frame. So there are three things that you can do to avoid narrow frames. Please make notes of this, very important. The first one is about whether or not. If you hear this thing in your mind, the whether I should buy a car or not, whether I should get married or not, that's the time when your antennas should stand up. It should be something wrong. Something more can be there. You have not thought through this properly. Okay. And That's an important part. For example, if it is about buying a car, should I buy a car or should I not buy a car? Maybe the thing to look at it is a bit differently. Is if the question had been, what is the best way for me to go to office, right? And you may find, okay, going by car is one option, carpooling is another option, metro is another option, right? Taking Uber or Ola is an option. You can, there are many multiple options which may come up, right? Which may about a pet. I want to get dog. What is that? I don't know. Anyways, we'll go to the topic. So whether or not, whenever you see whether or not kind of options, please think again, because that's the trigger point that something can be wrong. Should I get married or not? Another thing which happens, um, like it was coaching, had a coaching session, and this question came by somebody saying, should I get married or not? And when we reached to a later part, he said that I'll not get married for a year. It was not about married or not. It was about not getting married for a year was another option. Live-in could be another option. Have, okay, I'll get married if once I have 50 lakh rupees in my account, then I'll get married. You may have multiple options which may come up, but if you think of whether or not, it's a trap. So if you hear yourself saying whether or not I have to do something, it's a trap. Hold yourself. There's something missing. Second one, under avoid narrow frame, is opportunity cost. It's an opportunity cost. Opportunity cost means is, let's say you have to go and buy a Bose stereo, which may be costing, let's say, 50,000 rupees, and maybe it'll take you time for maybe 3-4 hours of going there, researching a day of all that time will happen. So you look at opportunity cost. Should I buy a stereo, or for the same time and money, there could be something else I can do? Maybe it's a laptop for your daughter, right? What are you losing? What are you losing when you choose something? Think of those options, the opportunity cost of taking decisions. All right. One out of avoid narrow frame is what I call as vanishing option test. Vanishing option test is whatever options you have, and when I'm talking to you, please keep thinking of the three things that you have thought about that's pending with you, that what are the options you had. And if you think of a fourth or fifth or sixth option, the way to tell your brain is think of a vanishing act. Assume all the options are not valid. What would be the next option? What would be the next best option available to you? Is there a better way? The question to look at is, please note this down, is there a better way of doing something, of doing the same thing that you are talking about? What else should we do? What are the other options available to you? No need to think from that perspective. Okay. So three things I mentioned under avoid narrow frame. One, whether or not should be antenna that should getting raised for you, opportunity cost, and also a vanishing act. Okay. Going to the next one is multi-track approach. Multi-track approach here is that instead of doing one thing, you can do multiple things at the time. It's not doing this or that, it is this and that. For example, if you do think of name of your brand or your company, instead of looking at asking only 5-10 people that you may ask the question to 5-6 different groups and get different inputs, different perspective from there. And that would help you overcome this particular problem, right? So here is that is about multi-track approach which you can use. There's multiple things happening at the same time. So the thing here is also, let me give example of even at COVID times. Right now, people are thinking of laying off, cutting cost, right? Cutting cost is an option being looked at by everyone across. But maybe there's an option also of what I call as investing into something, right? So the part here I mentioned about is there are two concepts here. It's about prevention approach or a promotion approach. Prevention approach is you're trying to prevent a negative outcome. You're preventing some negative outcome to happen. That's the prevention approach. Whereas a promotion approach is you're looking for a positive outcome. What could be positively come out from there, right? So in case, for example, if you're running a business and you're looking at cutting cost, maybe you can do something is you want to cut down cost by 15%. Instead of that, you cut down cost by 18%, and 3% you use for investing into a new product or new service. What I'm saying is you can do both things together. You're reducing the cost by 15%, but you're not doing it exactly. You're doing by 18% and using 3% for investing in somewhere else, right? So there are ways to do two things together. If you open your mind, this thing will come over there. Main thing I want to just mention here in the multi-track approach is what you have to make sure is, or even in this thing is, you have to fall in love. Let me repeat, you have to fall in love with at least two options. If you're not in love with two options, there is a catch. If you're in love with one option, that means it's already decided. You have to create multiple options and you have to fall in love with two options which are almost equal. Did you get that? It's a very important point. Please mention you got that in the chat box. That you fall in love with two options, not one. Okay. Fine, good. Great. So the third approach here is find someone who has solved this problem. Whatever problem you have, find someone in your, it could be outside the organization. For example, let's say you have an employee working for you who is very talented, but you can't grow him or her in his or her career. The approach you take here is find someone outside the organization who has faced a similar problem and see how it has been solved, right? Or you can take help from somebody in the organization who has solved that problem. Don't try to solve it if somebody has already solved it. And you can, through that mechanism, you can create kind of your own playlist which can be used for somebody later on also. Okay, so find someone who has solved your problem, which will give you multiple other options. All right, so if you got this thing, please mention on the chat box on this topic. Is it clear to you? Just type, it's clear? Outside practical problems, which eventually has only one decisions. Yeah, okay. We'll come to the some of the questions later on, but not many people have got clear. So please type, then I will move to the next step. I'm waiting. So only 4-5 people have repeated. Very well articulated. Yes, clear. So everybody's clear, is it? That's strange. I was expecting some people not being clear. Okay. Anyways, move to the next one is what I call as, sorry, let me just analyze options, right? So analyze option. So I'm just playing with my, by the way, on my screen because there's so many windows open. So just excuse me for that. Okay, the concept over here is what I call as consider the opposite. When you're analyzing options, you have to consider the opposite of it. So this is, I mentioned to you, is like a devil's advocate, right? In fact, one example I'll share, which I read in a book, was General Motors CEO used to do this quite often, that go into a board meeting and say, this is the decision we are taking. Anybody has any objection? And if everybody agrees in the first go, listen to it very carefully. If everybody agrees in the first go that the decision is fine, then the decision was not taken. If everybody agrees, then decision was not taken. It's very important that there is somebody or other who's saying, no, this is not the way to do it. Somebody has to challenge the CEO. And if that doesn't happen, it can create a problem, right? Okay. So the part here is what I'm talking about is uh, where you are saying is consider the opposite. Like example I gave to you again was like a devil's advocate. Have a devil advocate in your company, in your business, who can help you make those decisions. Next one is zoom out and zoom in. This is the interesting part. Zoom out, zoom in is actually you have to look at different, when you're looking at option, sometimes you have to zoom out and then you have to zoom in. The example being, for example, if you have to do a party at, let's say, an Italian restaurant, and you find out which is the best Italian restaurant near your home, and you find, let's say, two of them. One is rated as on Zomato as 3.6, and they're rated at 4, right? The chances are you will say, okay, we'll go to the one which is 4 because the rating is better. But if you zoom in, you may find something else. If you zoom in into the 3.6 and look at the review comments, you may find the food is excellent, but the price is high, right? The food was very nice, very tasty, best food, but the price was high. That's why the rating is less. And maybe for you, that's not a problem. Maybe for you, you can pay extra price because it's your anniversary, a birthday, a big event happening, and you are okay to spend money over there, right? So you can do a zoom in or zoom out and zoom in. That will help you get this barrier being overcome. Next one I'm going to go is ouch. Okay, ouch is what I call about is testing, is saying let's test this out. Before taking a decision, you want to experiment, just experiment with something. And this is very typical, by the way. I moved from corporate world to become entrepreneur. I've seen that entrepreneurs are best in doing this, to using this approach of ouch. They don't like to just make plans. They just want to test it. In fact, um, when I started getting into coaching, the first thing I thought was, let me give a service of making business plans for entrepreneurs. And it's been like now 3.5 years. Not a single enterprise said, I need help from you to make a business plan. Nobody. So except probably one person who made a business plan but never actually started. Okay. Uh, so hear me because internet. If you can hear me, please type yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
It's breaking a little, Amit, for
Yeah,
the.
I think it gave me a message in between. So I think the broadband is kind of stressed out. Um, is it better now? Internet is it working now? Now I'm getting a proper connection. Okay, okay, good. All right, so we are the out stage. Is that where you are testing things out? Typically, corporates, people don't do that much. It's mostly entrepreneurs who are good at that. So it can be learned from there. Also, it is about hiring. When you hire employees, we take interviews, and interview is not the best way to judge whether the person is right or not. And for example, if I have to interviews don't work. I have to see the athlete run. So if I'm hiring, I need to see the developer run in the terms of coding. If I'm hiring a designer, I need to see the design being done. If I'm hiring a content writer, I need to see the content writer actually write content and then figure out whether it's right or wrong. Right. So there is an ouch strategy which can be used. Another one can be before taking somebody on board full time, maybe you take the person for 3 to 4 weeks of a contractual engagement and see how the person performs and then give a permanent. No. So there can be many ouch strategies can be used at this stage where you are looking at analyzing options, and then you'll get a better results. Okay, so I'm moving to the third one. Before that, did you get this clarity on reality test your assumptions? Please give me a feedback on the chat box.
Amit, your video is stuck now. Just give me just a minute. I'll call him. Amit, you can start off.
Yeah, yeah. I think I lost connection in between. Let me just see if I can see the chat box again. Oh, I lost all the chats. Okay. Uh, can I start?
Yes, please. I think your last question was whether we understood the concept of.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, the next one, we're moving on to the third step, which is making a choice. And the concepts here are these, which is overcome short-term emotions. Overcome short-term emotions. So this is very important. Like the example I mentioned was, if you have buying a car, and this is an example, I'll share a real example. Um, so I'll take the questions later on, Vijaya, but let me just finish the presentation first. So the example here is, like, we had to choose a car about 5 years back. We had to choose a new car, whether we should buy a BMW or an Audi or a Fortuner. And we went to different these three car centers to look at the showrooms. And I was very impressed, obviously, how Audi and BMW salespeople treat you. They'll make you sit, take you drive, send the car at home, give you all the beautiful things. And it looked like, I should probably buy one of them. But and we went to the Toyota showroom. They just said, okay, this is the Fortuner. No, we don't have a test drive option, but you can see, you can sit and just look at the price, everything else. That's it. So we were driven about to buy an Audi or a BMW, and then we took a step back, sat back with my wife, and thinking, how will I use the car? And realize that I go to the office and takes us more than an hour to reach. So 2.5 hours of driving every day, and the car, I have always have a driver. Okay, so I always have a driver. So always driver will be using the car. I will not be driving the car. So it's not important. I'll be in the second row, right? So if the seat at the second row is comfortable, that's the best car for me, because I'll be not at the driver's seat. Then when we compared, it occurred, okay, Fortuner seems to be the best out of the three. And then we picked that up, right? So not being driven by your short-term emotion. No, you will know that, because some people mentioned their limitation is emotion. If you know it and you catch it, no, you can fix it. Your awareness is good enough. Okay. Moving to the second approach is 10-10 approach. It's a very common approach. 10-10 approach here is talking about approach is, how would you feel 10 minutes of taking a decision? How would you feel after 10 months of taking a decision? And how would you feel after 10 years of taking a decision, right? So in case you have a, let's say example being, you have a troublesome employee working for you, and you want to have a conversation, a difficult conversation with the person, right? At that time, the thought would be, okay, how would you feel for the 10 minutes? Because it will be very uncomfortable discussion which will happen. But how will you feel after 10 months of taking that, having the discussion, and after 10 years? When you look at all that, you will be able to take a decision in a better way, right? You will be able to take that, okay, the first 10 minutes is difficult, but later 10 months would be, I'll be proud that I had a discussion. Okay? So these are some simple tricks to use a 10-10 approach. Next one is honor your core priorities. Very interesting. This is when you're looking at which decision to take, make a choice. And somebody mentioned that in the chat box earlier also is that figure out what is your core priority. For example, maybe you are doing a job and you get an and you are doing a job where it's close to your home and you can take care of your family, everything is fine, but you have an option to join a startup and very exciting work, like somebody mentioned that you like exciting work, or you may want to go for studies abroad, right? You have these three options in front of you to pick up, and you have to decide which one to pick, right? That's a time to look at what is your real core priority. If your priority is family, then stay where you are. If your priority is exciting work, you want some excitement, go and join a startup. If your priority is your core priority at that time, your life is actually learning and you can spend money on that, then education, go abroad, study, right? So there are some core priorities that you figure out and then make the call, right? So honor your core priorities for while making a choice. Okay, so these are three concepts: overcome short-term emotions, 10-10 approach, and honor your core priorities. If you got that, give me a thumbs up on the chat box, and then I'll move to the last one. I'm waiting for feedback. Hello. One thumbs up. Why? Okay. Yes. Yeah, whatever way. Thumbs up. Why? Yes. Give me a thumbs up. Yes. Something. Yes, please. Voice not audible. Aditi, is it audible now?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Yes. Good. 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 Okay. Great. So moving to the last one, live with it. Live with it is interesting one. This is after you have taken a decisions. What are the things you can do so that you are prepared to be wrong? Prepared to be wrong, right? The first thing is this is a statement. Future is not a point; it's a range. So many times it happens that we look at, okay, I'm running a company. I want a company in next 2 years to be, because I've taken some decisions, I want the company to be 100 crore company. Now, 100 crore is a point, and that is a trouble, right? That's a problem because you're always comparing whether you made 100 crore or not. But it's what I'm saying here is future is not a point; it's a range. Give it a range. It could be anywhere from 80 to 120, right? Anywhere it fits in, it's success, right? So you can have a range defined rather than a point being picked up. These are what I'm talking about are some tricks because all this is mental game, right? So you have to tell your brain, if I'm reaching between 80 to 120 crore rupees, it's okay. If my share price is going from 50 rupees to 150, 50 to 75 rupees, it is good enough, right? And not getting bogged down by a particular point because that creates a big problem. And this is again a problem which I've seen many times. We make goals, and we make a goal with a point that this is what we want to achieve. But if you give a range, it's a little flexible from a point of view because future is still never clear to us. Next one is this is one is the most interesting one, what I call as pre-mortem approach. We have heard about post-mortem. It's a pre-mortem, and out of all the things, this is actually my favorite one, right? Pre-mortem is somebody has not died, but you do a pre-mortem of it. So, for example, if you have hired in your company, let's a very senior person, a vice president or a senior person in your company, and you fear that the person will leave. And typically, what happens is when the person has actually left, resigned, then we sit back and say, "Oh, why did he leave?" let's figure out why did we leave. It's a post-mortem, right? Post-mortem being done. But in case you turn it around and say, okay, we have hired this vice president today. Let's assume it's 6 months from now, and the person has resigned, right? At that time, if he has resigned, then why did he resign? Look backwards. He's not even resigned today, but you're imagining, you're putting your brain 6 months ahead and thinking if, yeah, and if he's resigned, then what would be the reasons? Another one could be you're doing a project. Today is 11th April. So maybe you're doing project and a project is for a year, and you imagine here is it's a do a pre-mortem approach. Let's say 1 year from now, 11th April 2021, the project has failed. It is a fiasco. It has no gone bad. Client is unhappy. It has gone bonkers, right? Why did the project fail? Why did the project fail? You start thinking from that point of view, you'll get a very different perspective and a solution around it. So this is the one I'm saying is a pre-mortem approach. The last one is a tripwire. Tripwire is, like I mentioned to you, in your cars, you have indicator giving you fuel indicator that it's about to trip. The petrol is going to get over, the diesel is going to get over. So be aware. So tripwire. It could be tripwire can be used also, for example, this is for you, Mahua, also, is let's say you start a new startup and then you may put a tripwire. Tripwire could be, if I don't get a paid client in next 6 months, then I'll go for plan B. Okay. Or it could be, tripwire could be, okay, I'm investing, putting 25 lakh rupees for the startup. If I don't start earning with this 25 lakh rupees, then go for plan B, right? So have some of these tripwires put in place in your life and your business that can catch you and prepare you from being wrong. If you've got it, please give me a thumbs up. Some are saying not audible, but most of people are saying they can hear me. So did you get this concept? It's a very important pre-mortem approach. This is my favorite one, pre-mortem approach in a tripwire. Put a tripwire in your decision making. It will help you a lot. Good, good. Got it. Yes. Okay. About tripwire, I mentioned, Savita, is it's a tripwire that you put in your business. For example, that you started a new business and you say, okay, I'll invest, let's say 25 lakh rupees in the business, and that's it, right? If it starts going well, then I'll continue. Otherwise, move to my plan B or something else. Or it could be, let's say I've started a new startup. If I don't get let's say a foreign client or a paid client in next 3 months, plan B. It's a tripwire. Just make sure you have that in place. It will not fail you. Okay. Fine. Thank you. Okay. So this is the summary. If you want to make a note or take a photograph of this is, I'm just putting a summary slide here. So this is what is going to, the process, the barriers, and the solutions. Okay. Fine. Now I'm open for questions. By the way, from overall, I'm kind of content-wise is finished. There is one small video, if hopefully that can play. I like to play in the end, and there is a one last message which I want to leave at the end of the session. So Mawa, if you can let me know how much time we have and how do we go about the next steps here. I have this question
Have
round here.
close to 18 minutes. So if you want to play the video for 3 minutes and last 15 minutes we want to keep for Q&A, that should be good.
All right, let me just try to see if this video plays. Okay. This is, by the way, the books you can refer to. The decision book, decisive, and thinking fast and slow. I'll give the names later on in the chat box, or you can take people must be taking photographs or something around it. So screenshots you can take. This is not my IP anyways. So. Okay. Let me play this video. This is another one is talking about how to um, decide, how to make a choice. It's a very powerful video. Uh, I'll just play and stop in between because I want to check whether you're hearing it or not. Let me start this. We do. We do. Are you able to hear this, Mawa?
Please
Did you get
increase
that?
the volume. Please increase the volume. It was better in the morning.
Yeah, let me increase.
Good reasons.
Was it better? Yeah,
Yes.
I'll play. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, anything that you choose, any adventure that you choose on in life is going to be risky, but this just happens to be one that some of us choose to throw ourselves into. How to make decisions about things that you're not sure about. How do you decide on what to do when you've got a vision, but the path isn't very clear, right? And oftentimes we're chosen with two paths, right? You get out of high school, you choose, well, do I go to the Army or do I go to college? Right? There's always these types of decisions to make, and we always have to go into deep contemplative modes and engage in activities that support us in making decisions. So my 3 steps. Number 1, your first step is to contemplate. Yes, take the time right away, instantly. When you're not sure what to do, the worst thing you can do is to act spontaneously in circumstances like this. Take your time, I say sleep on it. And while you're sleeping on it, I want you to consider this one question. What is the worst that could happen if I choose A? And can I live with it? And then you ask yourself the same thing with decision B. What is the worst, absolute worst, that could possibly happen if I choose B? Could you deal with it? The next step, after you've contemplated and dug deeply into the question whether or not I can handle the worst that could happen, you now have to choose. But you choose with a fucking sword. Bang! Right? You do this by creating a deadline for yourself. You say, all right, this is enough. Tomorrow, I choose. And when you choose, you put your foot down. You take that axe and you chop off any other options but the one that you know you're gonna do. And that's it, no turning back. That's the key. Once you make that decision, the other half of the decision, the other choices, the other things you could have done, you completely ignore, you throw it away, you never turn back and look again, because it'll only make you sick, indecisive, gray, on the fence, and weak. You choose hard. That's it. They call it burning the boats. There is no back door. There's no way back. You jump, and then you learn to fly. And that's the third step. The third step is to make your decision right. You burn the boats and you make the damn thing work. Right? You make it work. But there's a trick to making things work that I'd like to share with you. A magical perspective, a magic wand that you can wave over the choices that you've made in order to make them right every single time without fail. Successful people don't make the right decisions. They make their decisions right by always seeing the silver lining, by always seeing what they've learned along the way.
So successful people do not always make right decisions. They make the decisions right. This was the key message I wanted to pass today after this video. And this is, in a way, is some of the concepts I've mentioned today is talking about how and what is the process of taking decisions. but also very important is making a decision is very, very important. It's not about right or wrong, because there's no guarantee what is right or wrong. We have kind of come out with some barriers and some solutions, but it's very important. Do not forget that worst thing that can happen is if you do not make decisions. There is a big impact of delayed decisions, right? We're talking about, earlier I mentioned about in the COVID times, if some countries have delayed their decisions, it's a big, it could be costing life. So do not delay the decision. There's a process of way to do it. It can be done fast, like was mentioned. Put a deadline around it, but do not worry about it's a right or wrong, because you make the decisions and make it right. That's all I wanted to cover. I hope the video was useful. Please give me a thumbs up or feedback. Then we come to the question answers. Feedback of the video and the message here. Okay. Good video, very nice, great. uh, Anybody else? Any feedback? Anything else? Good. Yeah, I'll explain this core priorities. Okay. Mawa, can we have the question answers now?
I think, yeah, they've already started coming. I think Richa
Yeah.
and yeah, we can start off with those.
Okay, let me explain. First is this prevention approach or promotion approach. So prevention approach was the, let me just show that slide also actually. So that, yeah, it was part of avoiding the narrow framework. So it's not mentioned here, but prevention approach was talking about that there are things that you work on, which is saying from a negative outcome. You make some decisions which is based on negative outcomes, and there are some decisions which are based on positive outcomes. But what I'm mentioning, what I mentioned today was that you can have merger of these things, prevention and promotion approach together. So for example, if it was about reducing cost by 15%, instead of that, you may reduce the cost by 18% and use the 3% for building a new service or new product or opening new office somewhere else. So it is investing into something new. So it is both prevention and promotion. What are the ways of ouch? So what are the different ways of this experimentation testing? Ouch. So this will vary from case to case. The example I gave, let me repeat here, was let's say when you to hire an employee and you don't know whether this is the right or wrong employee, and you may make a wrong decisions at times. So how can you test? Right, that's why we have these interns, right? Sometimes we get interns and then see whether this is the right person or not, and then take person on board. Or you give a person on a contractual basis, let's say take for a month or 2 months, and then take the person in. So in different cases, different decisions that are pending with you, you may be able to figure out whether you can use ouch strategy or not. This is again typically I mentioned also was entrepreneurs are very good at that. No, they will try things out. Even if it's not clear what will happen after 3 months, they'll figure this out, right? Like, for example, Mahua is doing this right now. No, earlier we were not going to have this free webinars, but no, she picked it up and said, let's see, let's start, right? Test it out and see what turns up. So trying these different things, and not predicting the future. Don't try to predict the future because that's not in your hand. No, test things right now. So entrepreneurs typically tends to be, they believe in this term is they say we will control the future. Why test it? Why even predict it? Well, we can control the future. Why even predict it? So that's the mindset of the out strategy. Another question came.
Yeah, from
Sorry.
Richa. Think please
Yeah.
explain the concept of honor your core priorities.
Yeah, core priorities. I'll repeat the example, and then maybe the more examples can be picked up. Honor your core priorities is when you take a decision. At that time, let me go to that slide. Yeah. So this was part of making a choice. So when you have to finally make a choice, you have the example I gave was you are working somewhere and in a good job with, and you're close to your family, you're able to go to office, it works well for you. And you have another option is actually there's a new startup which is coming up and very exciting work. And you have an offer over there, which is matching maybe with the salary also of the current employer. And the third option is you're thinking of actually going abroad for further studies. You want to study more, and then you figure out which one to choose, right? Which is the option for you to be taken up, and that's where you to figure out what is right now your core priority. What do you prioritize? For example, you may say, okay, I want to be with my family. Being with family at this stage is very important, so let me not shift, right? Or you may say, okay, family is taken care of, or I don't have a family, then maybe it is the exciting work. I want to try exciting work. I've been doing something which is totally non-exciting, and I've come to a stage of doing something exciting. That's been you're pursuing it. Or you want you have just started your career and you want to think, okay, maybe I want to go and learn. I want to study more. I haven't got the skill yet, right? So you can actually go and pick to go outside and study or somewhere at the college, right? So that's the answer to honor your core priority that decides the things. Um, yes, next question. Aditya saying how to widen choices, how widen the choices available. I didn't get that question. Widen the choices was the part was I mentioned about the spotlight effect because is here. I think this is widen your options. So, like I mentioned here, a few things about avoiding the narrow frame. Don't look at only the three options. If you have the any choice, let's say you have to make a decision and you have three choices, don't think only of those. Try to avoid getting narrowed down. And if you have, like I mentioned, as or whether or not, no, only two options, yes or no. If you get a yes or no kind of thing, it's a trap. You may find some other options available. So there are ways to pick that up. And I mentioned in this is very important thing is you should fall in love with at least two options, right? If you are can fall in love with two options, then whatever you decide, it will be a better judgment call that you would have taken. All right. Next one, your destiny is determined by your decisions. How much you support the statement? Do you think this is right? Your decisions. I think this is we can have one-to-one discussion on this, Yamini, on your destiny is determined by decisions. I feel so. That is right, but there can be more discussions around it because decisions decide the direction where you reach, right? Maua is sitting here because she took a decision to become an entrepreneur after working for what, 20 years, 25 years,
No,
right?
close to 18 years.
18 years, right? So took a call, and so it's her destiny is decided by her decision. And wherever probably she took that decision, I don't know what time when she took, maybe sitting with Uma sometime and having a coffee, and it came out. Um, but the destiny kind of decided based on the decisions. Yes, most decisions have an impact on others. Please, very good point. Very, very interesting, especially if you are running a business, it has huge impact. Whatever Prime Minister Modi decides to do about the lockdown will impact the whole of India, right? So it's a decision is so the judges when they take a decision, it impacts so many companies, so many lives, so many businesses, right? So it does impact. Decision is not a simple thing. It's not looking at only your impact. It has more impact. I give the example, merger and acquisitions, when it happens, it has a huge impact. And the best of the people, let me repeat, best of the people have made mistakes in taking decisions, right? So it does have huge impact. Thanks, JJ, for that question. Any other questions?
Yeah, we just have 2 more minutes. Any last question would be great to respond to. All right, I think.
No more? Yeah. So I think we are done. I think we are done. Thank you all. Now it's a time for you to decide. You have those three questions or three decisions which are pending with you. I've given you the process, the barriers, the solution, the concepts, and my contact is also there in case you need help in taking a decision. You can contact me. I do this kind of a complimentary sessions on this to help people make decisions, at least during the COVID times. So,
I think let's
yep,
take the
I'm
last.
done, Mama.
How does it
Yeah.
make sense to take decisions intuitively?
Intuitively, yes. So interesting. So there are many times the decisions are taken intuitively. I don't disagree to that. In fact, I have taken many decisions intuitively. But the part what I have covered here is something which are very critical, and you have a bit of time to decide. Then this process will work. But there are some decisions which can be taken intuitively. And by the way, we take many decisions on intuition, and we justify by logic, right? Uh, and that's the catch. Check your intuition. Get when you have taken a decision on with intuition, just cross check with somebody else. Take an outside view, for God's sake. It's many times you can be wrong. Does it make sense to think? Yeah. A marriage, yeah. So yeah, these things can be a bit tricky. It is a personal choice, but I personally feel it's not. It's intuitively is in the sense is not that if you think intuitively is like in a second, not like that. You have intuition, but you stay with it. I recommend that you stay with that intuition for a week, 10 week, 1 week, 2 week, 3 weeks, and see does it still stay. Because if it is staying, it's fine. But if you're taking at the instant of that moment, it can be tricky. I
Thanks.
hope I answered the question.
Thanks a lot, Amit. It was amazing. 1.5 hours went quite fast, and it was quite workshop driven because you really explained and you went down deep on each of those conversations. Thank you, and thanks everybody for taking this time out on a Saturday morning and attending this session. Hope you loved it. We will be sharing with you the feedback form in the next 5 minutes. It's very, very important for Amit, for us, to understand what worked well and what can be improved on so that the next session can be much more valuable for you. So please do respond to the feedback form. Thank you. Have a great, great rest of the day and lovely weekend ahead. Thank you, Amit. Thanks
Thank
again.
you. Bye. Bye.